Hello and welcome to this online lesson. My name is Mr. Hoven, and today we're going to be looking at some of the early explorers from European countries. We're going to focus on the earliest Europeans to reach North America, which may or may not have been Columbus, don't you know? And we're also going to be looking at Columbus and a few other very important explorers that explored this new world in searching for different things to bring their countries that supported them riches and gold. So let's go ahead and get started. So many people do not know it was actually the Vikings that were the first Europeans to arrive here in the New World, or what is now known as North America. Several centuries before Columbus, Northern Europeans called Vikings had sailed to North America. In the 800s and 900s, Viking ships visited Greenland and Iceland, and they established settlements. And according to Norse or Nordic sagas, which were also known as stories, these individuals were led by a man named Leif Erikson, and he explored a land west of Greenland in 1000 AD known as Vinland, which was actually North America. Archaeologists have found remains of Viking settlements in Newfoundland. They've also found them in Greenland, in Iceland, and different areas of Canada, Greenland, Iceland, northern parts of the United States. The Viking voyages were not well known. Despite them being the first, quote unquote, Europeans to discover this new world, Columbus gets all the credit in 1492. Well, something to think about. He really wasn't the first one here. Cool. So, now we get on to the infamous, the very well-known Christopher Columbus. And after the fall of the last Muslim king in Spain, the Spanish monarchs began to devote their time, their efforts, and their money on things that they wanted to do. And one of those things was acquiring wealth from the trade with Asia. They knew that the Portuguese had been dominating trade with Asia and becoming a very wealthy, small little nation, and they wanted in on this piece of pie as well. So, King Ferdinand, who the pointer is pointing at right now, and Queen Isabella sought a way to find a quick trade route to Asia. Christopher Columbus, who was born in Italy, had been sailing for the Portuguese, and he actually had a different way of going about getting to the Asian countries. Most people were going by land, or they were going by sea, and they were traveling east. He believed the best way and the fastest way to get to Asia was to sail west. So his proposition was to sail from Europe across this unknown ocean to a place where no one knew where you would end up and try to find a route to Asia. Queen Isabella provided funding to support Columbus for two reasons. First, Columbus promised to bring Christianity to any lands he found. Again, trying to keep the Muslim empire from growing. So he'd bring Christianity to any lands he found. And if Columbus found a way to Asia, Spain would become wealthy and powerful through trade. So the money was funded, and he's ready to set sail. So Columbus heads out to find the New World. On August 3rd, 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. I'm sure we all know that little saying from when we were in grade school. He sailed west from Spain with three ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Maria, not Marina. Marina is the place where you put the ship. Okay, moving on. As the trip dragged on, Columbus had to seek new ways because he predicted it would only take a few months, and it dragged out to a few more than he actually thought it would take. So a way he kind of tricked his sailors into thinking they were going farther than they did was he would alter the maps or the ship's log to show that they had gone further than they actually had. But it wasn't until October 12, 1492 that land was spotted. These islands are known today as the Bahamas. So that's where his first voyage took him, to the Bahamas. Columbus went ashore and he claimed the land in the name of Spain. You can see him here putting the flag of Spain into the sand. You've got some natives in the background looking and seeing what's going on. He was convinced that he had reached the East Indies off the coast of Asia and referred to these people on the island as Indians. So that's how the name kind of came to be. And although they appeared to be entranced by these strange men, the natives had no clue how much their lives were about to change. First contact has been made. Europeans are here. The changes are about to begin. Dun dun dun! So it wasn't just the Spanish that really wanted to get a piece of this new area. The French wanted to get involved as well. And in 1524, 3 years after Cortez, who was another explorer, had conquered the Aztecs in South America, King Francis I of France sent Giovanni de Verrazano to map the North America's coastline. He wanted to find a northwest passage, and this was believed to be a passage that they thought was there that would be a route through North America to from this new big piece of land to the Pacific Ocean. So now we found this new land. We're not sure really what it is. We don't think it's the East Indies like we had once thought. So let's try to find a way through it to get to Asia. Verrazano mapped out the coastline from North Carolina to Newfoundland, but he found no sign of passage through the continent and returned to France with the news. So again, this voyage in 1524 was to look for that Northwest Passage, something that all countries began wanting to find. So another explorer for the French was Samuel de Champlain. And in the 1500s, the French began fishing near North America, and they would often trade with the local natives. The fishing crews went ashore to trade goods for furs that the Native Americans had. And by 1600, beaver fur had become very fashionable in Europe. As the demand for fur increased, French merchants became interested in expanding the fur trade. And in 1602, King Henry IV of France sent a group of merchants to create colonies in North America. In 1605, Samuel de Champlain helped establish a French colony in present-day Nova Scotia. And you can see that up on the map. In 1608, he founded Quebec, and which became the capital of the new colony of New France. Again, why do countries imperialize? For trade. They're looking for beaver pelts. Weird. And finally, one of the most well-known explorers, because simply of his name sake and what he's been named after, was Henry Hudson. Now, Henry Hudson was sailing at first for the Netherlands because they wanted, the Dutch also too, wanted a passage through the Americas. They were looking for the Northwest Passage, a water line all the way through the North American continent. In 1609, he discovered the river which bears his name in eastern New York and sailed up to it. Again, the caravel is really narrow. It's really well suited for traveling in narrow channels. So he sailed up, didn't seem to find the end, got to about Albany area. He turned back and searched for a new passage to the east. The following year, he returned to North America, this time sailing for England. England's beginning to build up its navy, and it's building up its naval fleet and ships. Kind of a preface for what's going to come later. On this voyage, Hudson and his crew discovered the huge bay that is known as Hudson Bay. Thinking he had found the Pacific Ocean when he was in the bay, he spent months searching for an outlet. His crew ended up mutinying, which they kind of rose up and revolted against the leader, and putting him, his son, and a few sailors on a small boat. They were never seen again. Well, that about wraps things up for today. I hope you enjoyed this online lesson, and we'll see you next time.